our native land, our native land, our native land. Hoya, hoya, our native land.
Hey everybody, Chad Leo here, host of Our Native Land through Czech Podcast Studios in Victoria, British Columbia. Before we get to today's guest, I would just like to do a territory acknowledgement. I acknowledge with respect the Lekwungen peoples on whose traditional territory Czech Studio stands upon, and to all the people that are part of the new channel, Kwakwakwa and Coast Salish on Vancouver Island. I thank these nations and traditional land keepers for allowing us to live, work, and play on their lands. And I thank you, the listener and viewer, for tuning in to another episode of Our Native Land. Today I have Jennifer Charles from Res Animal Rescue, and she's going to talk about what she's doing to help the animals on Vancouver Island. Thank you so much, Jen, for coming on the program.
Thank you for inviting me.
No problem. I know it's been a long time. I reached out quite a few months ago, and our schedules hadn't lined up. And I'm just so excited that you're finally here and able to talk to me a bit about what you do. So, Res Animal Rescue, you are the founder, and you have a couple people helping you. Take me back to the beginnings of you putting the effort in to help these animals.
Well, I started very, very young. My
Mm-hmm.
mom remembers me even before I remember having always rescued animals.
Mm-hmm.
My earliest memories of rescue are I live on reserve,
Mm-hmm.
um, and we're in a rural area, so people used to drop a lot of animals off.
Mm-hmm.
Just they didn't want them, so they just abandoned them.
Yeah.
So I'd go and round up these animals and then have CRD come and pick them up so that they could be rehomed and taken care of.
Mm-hmm.
And that was my first memory. And I've always wanted to help animals. They're my passion.
Mm-hmm.
I will say I work just so that I can rescue. And
Wow.
that's basically what I've been doing my entire life.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, I have 6 dogs in house. Um, and it can get chaotic, but
Yeah, I
it's
can imagine.
I've got 3 available for adoption.
There you go. Yeah, we'll get into that more too. Okay, so um, let's tackle in the best way we can and the most respectful way we can the misconceptions and notions about having animals on reserve, because a lot of them they'll roam around. I know where I grew up on the reserve, half the time I don't know who owns the dog, or maybe they do own the dog but everybody else feeds it. There's just this image of maybe people who live off reserve of just this uh, maybe this interpretation that they're not being taken care of properly, or maybe there are and it just doesn't seem that way. Can you kind of maybe tie the gaps of what's happening on the reserve and what people think are happening?
Well, to speak from when I started, there has been a lot of change. A lot of vetting is now being done. I didn't even know about a vet when I was growing up.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's a lot of learning different ways to take care of your animals and just just how people believe they should be treated, and that's definitely changing. And that's what we're trying to do with Res Animal Rescue is I'm creating a curriculum for children to help learn proper animal husbandry so that you know that in order for a dog not to be reactive and aggressive, they have to have exercise, training, discipline,
Mm-hmm.
and not be tied out and not just be kind of left to their own devices.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of the roaming animals were again caused initially by just people just dropping them off. I
Mm-hmm.
don't want them anymore, so I'm just going to leave them here because everyone else does. They
Yeah.
won't use another dog. And I think that's where a lot of that misconception comes in because I've gone on to different reserves and they've been like, there's this dog, he's aggressive. And I've taken the dog
Mm-hmm.
and just brought it home and rehabilitated it. It's just scared because it was just dropped off. It doesn't know what's happened.
Yeah.
It doesn't know why its parents have just left it, and it's scared.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all they're generally doing is reacting because they're scared. So if you get them a new home, they're a changed animal.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that has actually really contributed to a lot of the misconception.
Mm-hmm.
And I do understand that there are people who don't know how to properly take care of their animals, but I think that also comes down to recovering from the residential schools.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not in a home, you don't know how to live
Mm-hmm.
normally because you're forced to be in that institution.
Mm-hmm.
So people are just learning,
Mm-hmm.
and I see a lot of great people taking care of their animals, and doing the best and loving them. And we're here to support that because a lot of the poverty is what influences the care that animals get.
Mm-hmm.
If they're just making it by themselves, they don't have a lot
Mm-hmm.
to give to the animals. So we provide food and flea medication and emergency vetting when
Mm-hmm.
necessary. And I go around and I check animals myself. And if there's a concern, I bring it up to the owner and say, hey, this needs to be looked at and we'll
Yeah.
help.
Okay, so you definitely you do go out of your way and mention these things to people because I think a lot of people are scared. If they see an animal that's maybe not in tip-top shape, to go to the owner and say something can be quite intimidating and maybe hard to do. So have you built that kind of relationship in your reserve or the reserves that you go to where you're confident to go and do that without really having any reciprocation, or do you get a lot of poor reciprocation in return?
Initially, you get a lot of pushback, but I try to approach it with respect and understanding. I'm not here to judge anybody. I'm not here to say you're a terrible animal owner. You don't deserve to have an animal.
Mm-hmm.
I'm here to help you
Mm-hmm.
and to help your animal live its best life.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all I'm here for. So I'm not a rescuer that goes in judgment
Mm-hmm.
and decides whether or not you deserve to have this animal.
Mm-hmm.
I'm there to help you to take the best care of them that you can,
Mm-hmm.
because you have them for a reason. You have, some care and compassion for them. And I'm just approaching from that standpoint. How can I help you to
Mm-hmm.
keep this animal safe and happy?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what supports can I offer you? And I think that's really important in rescue. And it's hard. You can become jaded. And, but you just have to be compassionate and understand that everybody's got their own story.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't know that. You don't know what the story is. So rather than approaching in a judgmental, harsh way and saying, if you don't do this, I'm taking your dog, just approach and say, how can I help you?
Mm-hmm.
And that's basically what I do. Do you need food? Do you need, flea medicine? Like, what's going on with this dog? Like, how
Mm-hmm.
can I help you to help this animal?
Yeah.
And I'm also known, I don't have it set up, but I usually have a dog run right by my house so that you can just drop off an animal without having to tell me.
Mm-hmm.
If you're afraid
Mm-hmm.
of approaching someone and saying, I can't take care of this animal anymore,
Mm-hmm.
I will just say, hey, leave it with me. I will take care of it. And I've come home to find dogs in the dog run.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's kind of like a safe haven kind of thing. And
Yeah.
great out front for cats or chickens or whatever else that you feel like you don't need or you can't take care of for whatever reason.
So you get other animals besides dogs and cats? You've had a chicken in there
I
too.
will take anything.
Wow.
If you don't want it, I
Yeah.
don't, it could be an iguana,
Yeah.
it could be whatever it is. I will figure out a way to take it. Chickens kind of scare me.
Yeah.
So my help me with that one. But those roosters have their own flocks and they're rehomed and they're happy.
Yeah. Wow, that's awesome. And you were talking before we came on the air here that you do work with a lot of other organizations to
I do.
put this together. So let's talk a bit about the people that help you do this work.
Well, I'm terrible at fundraising. That's just not my strong point. It actually would cost me more to fundraise, so
Yeah.
I don't even bother trying.
Yeah.
I basically worked 3 jobs just to fund everything I do, but
Mhm.
I've had amazing organizations reach out and help me.
Mhm.
Greater Victoria Animal Crusaders has helped me a lot.
Mhm.
Broken Promises. I've worked with everyone from the Humane Society to Rain Coast Rescue, Northern Hope. Um, it's a great community, people that will come together and support.
Mhm.
Rome has made a lot of contributions. They're the ones that help find lost and missing animals. Fled has helped fundraise for a dog that was attacked by either a bear or cougar. We're not too sure. It's just a great community of people that have come together and really helped me out a lot, especially with my urgent cases that require heavy medical care.
Yeah, I can only imagine that there's times where it's like it's not like you can just take the dog or the cat and bring it home and just deal with it yourself. Can you maybe tell me of a time or certain times where like the situation is dire?
Well, there was Chubby. He was attacked. He had deep lacerations on his face, his
Mhm.
chest. I had to bring him into the vet, which the emergency vet is very pricey.
Mhm.
And I did bring him home to take care of him,
Mhm.
overnight, but he needed a lot of vet care.
Mhm.
So that was a difficult one. We have some that have never lived inside.
Oh
Those are
wow.
because I have to teach them how to be an inside dog, and it can take time.
Mhm.
You have to get them acclimated to being an inside dog and being free. So those can be difficult. Um, I've had generally the easier ones I just funnel through, and my partner, I wouldn't say partner, but the rescue organizations that help me have done all the rehoming for me
Hmm.
because I'm terrible at that. Nobody's ever done that for my dogs.
Sounds like you're good at being the kid, like holding on and making sure they're okay, and then all these other supporting factors are helping you get homes for these animals once they're
Yes,
recuperated.
I'm definitely frontline.
Yeah.
I'm not the one that goes out and does the home checks. I'm actually doing that for the first time with these three puppies,
Yeah.
and I don't like it. So I think let people take care of that
Yeah,
part
you're
of it.
just gonna stay at home and make sure everybody's okay. You said you got 6 dogs with you right now?
Yes,
Nice.
I keep the ones that are not rehomable for whatever reason. They
Hmm.
will stay with me forever,
Hmm.
whether it be aggression, medical issues, behavior issues, or
Hmm.
whatever.
So there is some times where like they're gonna stay with you no matter what.
Yep,
Yeah.
I've had and lost a few due to old age or due to medical issues, but I keep them for and give them all the love of because they're my family, they're my
Hmm.
babies. Right now I have three. There's Pig. She's a Rottweiler cross. She's perfect. Love her, but she has allergies that require $200 a month shot plus regular allergy medications that are expensive.
Yeah.
So she's not considered adoptable because of that. Nobody wants to take that on if they don't have to.
Yeah, the financial burden of it. Yeah.
Yeah. And I have Blue. She's a Husky Mastiff cross, and she has neurological issues that cause her to be scared of literally everything.
Oh wow.
120 pounds of fear. She's scared of everything.
Really? My God. So can you like take her out on a walk or?
No, we live on a property, we're on reserve, and
Hmm.
we're at a more rural end of it. So we have a huge property. She runs between my house, my aunt's house, my grandparents' house.
Okay.
And she goes to daycare.
Okay.
There's the only places she can go comfortably.
Yeah.
So we've got her into that. So she goes to daycare and she runs off her energy and wrestles and plays and
Oh,
has a lot.
that's good. Yeah. Couple safe places for her.
Yes.
Nice.
And so she's got a great quality of life and she'll just be with us forever.
Hmm.
And then we have Momo. He's a little tiny Pomeranian, but he has double luxated patella in his knees that will require surgery.
Okay.
So you can't tell him that. He's insane. He jumps off of everything.
Oh my God.
It's hilarious.
Yeah.
And then right now we have three Chihuahua puppies.
Okay. Wow.
They're actually just ready to go. I finally got them almost housebroken, and they were really scared when we first got them, but they're coming out of their
So
shells now.
do you find puppies a lot of the time too, just kind of abandoned in a box, kind of what we hear on the news type of thing, or are you getting more calls of asking for people to get stuff than you just finding it?
Um, I don't get many puppies. Puppies are generally very easy to rehome.
Hmm.
These ones were not in the best condition. They had really bad worms,
Hmm.
and I've lost puppies to too many worms before. So I actually went and sought out these puppies and took them on
Hmm.
and got them all vetted, and they're all healthy.
That's really nice. Now
But
you
I prefer dogs; they're easier.
Yeah, yeah. Now you said you got a lot of support from surrounding organizations. Being that you're on reserve, is there any tribal support from your reserve or other reserve that kind of have helped you with this, or you're really just on your own with whoever wants to help you?
I'm basically on my own.
Yeah.
I've reached out to the different chief and councils, including my own,
Hmm.
but and also I say we, the grand we're lobbying for bylaws because each reserve is coming up with their own bylaws, and I'm trying to speak to them about instituting strong bylaws for animal care
Hmm.
and just making sure that I'm very anti-tethering. I
Would
don't
like leash?
like tying them out for their entire lives
Yeah,
is
of course. Yeah.
something that I stand up for and I teach
Hmm.
against. That's no life for a dog. That's like solitary confinement for a human.
Hmm.
And I don't like it. So I'm very anti-tethering. So I'm trying to, on my own reserve, I've reached out many times that when they're going through these bylaws to please contact me because, I have a lot of experience with dogs and cats and everything. And I think that we need to address that they can't be tied out too long
Hmm.
because it's inhuman. It's
So
inhuman.
it's like starting from the beginning, like you said, you're working on an education system for kids so that way they can learn. So it starts from a young age, but also starting from the ground up. If there's going to be a new development or new regulations put in place, whether it's on or off reserve, I think it's so important for you to really reach out because That's one of the worst things is trying to help a group of people or animals with nobody who really has the frontline experience, like you said. So, have they been reaching out? Like, do you feel like you're making some progress?
Not for the bylaws.
Yeah,
They do if there's anything to do with animals.
yeah.
I get calls in the middle of the night. I get calls all the time. Hey, there's a loose dog. It's being aggressive. Can you come get it?
Mm-hmm.
Or this dog is hurt, or someone did this. It's almost people actually report to me
Mm-hmm.
if they see someone and they think they're being abusive.
Okay.
I generally just go do a home check, and if I feel like there's cause, then I will, send it to SPCA as well.
Mm-hmm.
And, they've been great. I have people that I talk to there, and they've actually helped me, the SPCA, with spay neuter vouchers because
Okay.
I'm very much I do my best. That's where a lot of my funding goes, is for spay neuter,
Mm-hmm.
because there's just an overabundance of animals being born that don't have homes to go into.
Yeah, it's kind of population control.
Definitely, especially ferals, because again, people just drop off cats, and
Mm-hmm.
then we have feral colonies everywhere.
Yeah, I've always been speaking about the SPCA. I've always been curious. Maybe a couple listeners and watchers are curious too about the actual regulations on when and how the SPCA can come onto reserve land and what their capabilities are. Is there a gray area there, or is it they can treat the reserve land as if they were going into rural Victoria?
Unfortunately, it's not that cut and dry. It really is dependent on the chief and council. They have to be allowed and invited onto the reserve, and some have banned the SPCA from going onto their reserve, which
Wow.
basically means that there is no recourse if someone has neglected a dog or done things like that. That's why reporting is very important,
Mm-hmm.
because if you report to me, I will follow up. If you report to like the police or to someone else, they can follow up and make sure that an animal isn't being starved to death or tortured or anything like that, if that does happen.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, it really is dependent on each reserve. I know of two on South Island that have banned the SPCA from coming on their grounds.
Wow.
On my own personal reserve, that's not the case. We're CRD anyway, but they can come, but they have to be invited. But it's also frustrating, because if someone abandons a dog on reserve and you bring them to CRD, they won't take them because the dog was found on reserve lands.
Okay.
So it's very frustrating in that there's not a lot of resources.
Mm-hmm.
So if a band member wants assistance, they can't get it because the SPCA can't step in and help.
Mm-hmm.
If an animal is found, their hands are tied
Mm-hmm.
because of what one chief and council person decided to do.
Mm-hmm. It's
So it's
Yeah,
very
it's interesting to see why, like, maybe there was um, a poor interaction in the past that maybe shaped those decisions. Is that not what you think where that's coming from, or
Yes,
yeah?
I've had personally poor experiences with a former
Yeah.
director of the SPCA,
Mm-hmm.
who's actually part of the rescue world now. Um, and that will definitely, it's a trust issue.
Mm-hmm.
If someone comes up to you in a condescending manner and says, you don't know how to take care of your animals, your children, you're this or that,
Mm.
you're obviously going to get defensive. And
Of
there's that
course.
lack of trust for anybody that's in that position of authority.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that really did a lot of damage to a couple of the relationships. The new director, she's great. She's very kind and empathetic and understanding, and she's definitely someone that you can speak to.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm hoping that new chief and council, if there's any new people, that they will reach out and say, hey, we have this issue. Can you help us out with it?
Mm-hmm.
Because when you tether a dog, or have a dog that isn't trained or exercised or taken care of, they can become aggressive and it can be dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the main focuses of the new curriculum we're creating for children, is bite prevention. If you don't want
Mm-hmm.
your dog to be attacking other dogs or attacking people or chasing cars, you have to train them.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it starts with the youth, because the youth will teach the elders. Because anyone can be set in their own mindset. But if your grandchild comes up to you and says, hey, we need to do this for
Yeah.
Fluffy,
Yeah.
like, okay, fine, because we cater to our kids
Yeah,
and our elk.
absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
So I
Which
think that's a big thing.
No, I think that's a huge role reversal too, because we always look at elders for education and for growth and for things that are really important and dear to us. But what a great opportunity for the younger generation through your education and other means to learn how to take care of an animal properly. And just like my son came up to me and said I'm doing something wrong, and he's so compassionate about it, I would be super inclined to change my way for him. So I think that's great.
And I think that's a big way of making change is through the youth, and then they can teach. Because my own grandparents thought that dogs were supposed to stay outside,
Yeah.
but then I came along and I brought everything in the house that I could.
Yeah.
And
Even the
so,
chicken. No, I'm kidding.
no, that one my cousin took care of.
Okay.
Had a little issue with birds. Like I've brought a lot of wild animals to like Wild Ark as well.
Yeah.
If anything is found, they call me and I transport and things like
You
that.
you probably work with maybe the if you found a bird that need a rescue, the bird rescue there just close to Crofton there in Duncan.
I've never had any actual birds that need rescue,
Oh,
like
okay.
native birds. These are just like birds that have been injured by, like, I had an owl
Oh, okay.
that was injured possibly by a cat.
Yeah.
So I brought him to the Wild Ark, and
Oh,
he
Wild
just
Ark. Where's that?
that's actually not too far from where I live. It's in
Okay.
Michigan.
Okay.
So it's only a 15-minute drive. So I'll go anywhere and pick up a bird in a box and
Mhm.
bring it back to them
Yeah.
so that they can take care of it. I usually don't even look in the box because birds freak me out, to be honest.
Yeah. Everybody has their animal. I'm not a big fan of like I go fishing. I've got a fish sockeye. Like I grew up in the reserve with the salmon and everything. But for
Yeah.
some reason, fish in a bowl, especially the ones you can see through and you can see their intestine,
Oh
I
my.
can't do it. I don't do fish in a bowl. There was an old Moxie's here just down the road from the studio, and they sat me down by an aquarium, and I said no. They're like, "What's the matter?" And I couldn't tell them because I was just so embarrassed about it. I was like, I have to sit somewhere else. We don't have any chairs. Well, I guess I'm not eating here. And I got up and went somewhere else because I couldn't handle the fish in the bowl. Anyways, I just admitted a weird fear of mine, but I
No, we all
understand
have.
the bird thing. I just have it with fish instead.
Good. It's
Oh,
not just me. Thank
no,
you
it's
for
okay. You're welcome. It's a safe space.
yeah.
Jen, we're running out of time. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule with taking care of all these animals. Quickly, if people are listening or watching and they want to help you in any way, shape, and form, how can they get a hold of you to do that? I'm guessing the Facebook page.
The Facebook page is a good way. We monitor it all the time.
Yep.
It's just Res R-E-Z
Mm-hmm.
or Z in Canada,
Yep.
Animal Rescue.
Yep.
And we also have email at traindon'tchain@gmail.com.
Mhm.
And
I'm gonna redo that question because the phone's ringing in the
I
background.
know.
So we'll just I'll redo that question there.
Thank you.
No problem.
Sorry,
Okay,
my daughter.
I'll just re-say it. Okay, so we're running out of time, Jen. I really appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule, taking care of these furry children of yours. And but if anybody's listening or watching, want to support you, how's the best way to do it?
They can reach out to me on Facebook, Res R-E-Z Animal Rescue. They can email train, that's TRAIN, don't DONT, chain, CHAIN, @gmail.com.
Fantastic. All right. Facebook page, Res Animal Rescue. Everybody, you heard it right there. If you want to help her out, any kind of financial support, sounds like there's a lot of cost that's associated to this. So I'm sure she could use your help. Jen, thank you so much for coming on to our native land.
Thank you for inviting me. Have a great day.
You too.